Learning 3D can feel like this long, frustrating road. But what if I told you there's a structured path, a specific order of operations that could make the whole journey 10 times easier and way, way faster? Well, that is the exact map we're going to break down in this explainer. All right, let me ask you something directly. Does it feel like you're putting in endless hours, but you're just not seeing the progress you want? It's like you're trying to build this amazing masterpiece, but you're starting with the final tiny details instead of, the actual foundation. And that right there leads to a super common myth in the creative world. This idea that just practicing more is the key. And look, practice is absolutely vital, but practicing the wrong things in the wrong order, that can actually hold you back. It just creates bad habits that are a real pain to unlearn later. I love how 3D art instructor Grant Abbott puts it. He says, you can make it so much harder on yourself by not following a logical progression. This isn't about working harder, it is all about working smarter. And the path he lays out, that's exactly what we're gonna walk through right now. So here's the game plan. We'll start by looking at the common mistakes, what not to do. Then we'll build the proper foundation with something called low poly modeling. From there, we'll layer on detail and textures, touch on the more advanced skills, and then finally bring it all together into your complete path to mastery. Okay, so let's talk about the wrong way first. It's that temptation to jump straight into the most exciting, complex part of 3D, like sculpting a super detailed character. Yeah, it feels really productive, like you're making cool stuff right away, but trust me, it often leads to a total dead end. And here's the thing. Here's why that's such a huge problem. Without a solid understanding of basic form, of basic shapes, all that incredible detail you're sculpting is just being built on an unstable, wobbly foundation. If the core shapes are wrong, the final product will always feel just a little off. This right here illustrates the point perfectly. On the left, that's your weak foundation. You can pile on incredible detail, but if the shapes underneath are bad, the whole thing just falls apart, and it's nearly impossible to fix. But on the right, with a strong foundation, even simple shapes look powerful, they look iconic, and any detail you add later just makes it even better. Which naturally brings us to the solution. The proper starting point for every single beginner out there is building that strong foundation with low poly modeling. So what exactly is it? Well, low poly is just what it sounds like, creating models with a low number of polygons. Look, the goal here isn't to make something that looks like a photograph, not at all. It's about getting a rock-solid handle on the fundamentals, strong shapes, clear silhouettes, and the absolute core form of an object. Okay, so why is this so critical? Why start here? Well, first off, it's an easy win. You can make cool-looking stuff fast, and that builds your confidence and momentum. Second, it forces you to learn the absolute fundamentals of how 3D works, and maybe most importantly, it literally trains your brain to look at any complex object in the world and break it down into its simplest, most iconic forms. All right, so once you've got that solid foundation, what's next? How do we start building on top of it? Well, once you've mastered creating those strong, simple forms, it's time to layer on some complexity and surface detail. The next logical step isn't to just throw low poly out the window. Nope, you build on it. Think of it as detailed low poly. You're still working with those simple, core forms, but now you're adding those smaller details, the individual tiles on a roof, the stones in a well, maybe the rope on a bucket. You're adding personality without losing that strong, readable shape you built first. Okay, once you're feeling good about the form, the shapes, then we move to the surface, and that means texturing. This is where you literally apply a 2D image, like a picture of wood grain, onto your 3D model. And the absolute key skill here, the thing you gotta learn, is called UV unwrapping. It's basically like unfolding a cardboard box so you can draw on it flat. You're telling the software exactly where to place that 2D image on your 3D object. Now, when you're just starting out with this, please don't get overwhelmed. Just focus on these fundamentals. Start with really simple, single textures. Really put in the time to master that UV unwrapping process. And practice the basics, like learning how to hide the seams where your texture wraps around and making sure you're not getting any weird stretching or distortion. So once you've got a solid grasp of form and texturing, now you're finally ready to tackle the advanced stuff. The things that most people mistakenly try to jump into on day one. And what's cool is that at this stage, you kind of get to choose your own adventure. If you come from a traditional art background and you love making organic things like creatures and characters, sculpting might be for you. But if you're more technical and you love creating precise mechanical objects like robots or vehicles, you'll probably lean towards hard surface modeling. Both are all about adding that final fine layer of detail. And last but definitely not least, we've got the final professional polish, optimization, also known as retopology. This is the skill of taking your beautiful, super high polygon model and rebuilding it with clean, efficient geometry so it can actually run in a video game or an animation without, making the whole thing grind to a halt. It is absolutely essential for most professional work. Okay, let's put this all together. This isn't just a random collection of skills to learn whenever you feel like it. It's a clear step-by-step pathway from being a total novice to becoming a confident creator. This is it. This is the whole journey, laid out from start to finish. You start with the simple forms of low poly. You build on that with more detail. You learn to apply textures and master UVs. Then, you specialize in high-fidelity detail through sculpting or hard surface modeling. And finally, you optimize your work so it's ready for the real world. You see, when you follow this structure, something fundamental shifts in your head. You stop just guessing at how to make things. You start knowing how to actually build them. You develop a system, a process that you can apply to any object you could possibly want to create. And the end result? It's just so powerful. Like the source material says, nothing feels impossible anymore. You gain the confidence to look at a complex challenge, break it down into these steps, and just start building. And that is when 3D becomes truly fun. So I'll leave you with this thought. You now have the map. You have the proven pathway to get where you want to go. The only question left is, what are you going to create first?